Hello there! GM Lurch Lurchington here again with another episode of Star Wars Showdown on Iceball Station. With me as usual are our players and their characters. We've got the Bendu as Narset Jinn.
Greetings and salutations.
Dan as Warm of Ithor.
Hello there.
David as Master Zavik Silverstar.
Hey everyone.
And, of course, our host Kyle as Zeef.
Hello there.
Gentlemen, if you're ready to see if the Force is with us, let's roll our destiny and begin.
All right.
One light from Zeef. One light from Dan.
Nice.
Not seeing this.
One light from Zavix. It's in the tracking sheet thread.
It's in the tracking sheet, not dice
Tracking
tray.
sheet thread, yes. For the for
You
the
roll
destiny.
you roll the normal
That's
rolls
why.
in the dice tray, but tracking for this one roll.
We don't keep the destiny points in the dice
Well,
tray, fellas. That's just like physically. Oh my goodness! Okay, so we got 5 light sides and no dark.
Indeed.
The Force is certainly with you this morning on
Force
Iceball.
is with me. I am one with the Force.
Yes, and we are going to return where we left the last session to Narset Jinn. Narset, you woke in the morning to Hot Calf and Kintera studying, working away at her data pads. You observed the frigid waste of Iceball, for once not beaten by stormy weather. Then you journeyed across the ice with her to the far side of the island, where the slope of the windward side of the island abruptly stopped at yet another steep downward slope, such as above the bay where Fishtown in the city is. The walker stopped there. Down below this steep slope, you could see a small inlet of water, at the edge of which were just a handful of Sauvax buildings. The way down would be treacherous as indeed, and Kintera is shifting nervously in the driver's seat. She looks back over her shoulder and says,
I don't know if you're going to be able to help with this the way you did earlier with those boulders. We're going to be nearly vertical heading down this slope. It's a lot steeper than back by the city.
And this is a different slope than the one we already...
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you're
went
coming
down
down the
some
other side.
waterfalls. You went around by crushing some boulders and smoothing a path. But this is a nearly vertical slope that leads down to this small inlet where the tribal Sauvax village is. And the only way down is to head straight down this nearly vertical slope. It's going to be, a significant... Like, you've traveled down this more shallow slope for quite a while now, nearly a day. So it's not nearly as far down as the side you came up, but it's much steeper here at the end. And it's almost like the lava was coming down a long way shallowly and then just
Fell.
it stops vertically. Whereas on the other side, it's like that much further leading down to where the city is, Exactly. So it falls off, but it's not too far, but it's far enough that she's nervous about, piloting the walker down there, nearly down this vertical frozen cliff face above this bay, with just enough shore for a village and for the walker to land on the shore, crushing you both, and not in the water, crushing and drowning you both, so...
Gotcha, yeah. I was going to say, is the village within eyesight?
You can look down this slope at it. Yes, it's far enough down away that the Sauvax are, small to you down there, but some of them have come out of their huts and are looking up the slope at you, silhouetted there, against the sky.
Okay. Oops, Cole. Okie doke. Narset looks over to Kintera after, somewhat surveying the situation and, somewhat to try to gather a little bit more information.
Sure.
She looks over to Kintera and sort of asks, well, we can see the village from where we are. Do we necessarily need the walker? Can we walk there and park it here? Or would it be more worthwhile to still get the walker to the village?
She looks past you nervously at the bench where her workstation is and all of her collection of data pads. And she goes,
I suppose we could. I would have to bring my notes. It's a lot. Maybe you could carry one of the bags.
you're going to have to make a check, one of the social checks, to convince her, to come, and whether you're going to try to convince her to leave her things behind, or not. She's certainly suited for adventure, but she, brought her walker so she could bring all of her things, and now she doesn't want to leave it behind necessarily.
Yeah, no, I get
she's
you,
got
Bilbo,
all
bag
of her
if you're wanting your
apparatus.
handkerchief.
Yeah, she's got her walking house with her, and you're asking her to leave it behind up here and not bring it down to the village where she can study them up close. I guess but you're gonna have.
You had an uncle.
You're just gonna have to pass a check. So you got charm, deception, negotiation, and coercion.
Oh shit, that's
know
the
what I
one
mean?
thing I
So,
forgot. Yeah, I don't have my
It's your character sheet.
Oh,
Okay,
well,
Benju.
I'll carry the bags. It's fine, I don't give a fuck.
You're gonna try.
Better hope you don't need to leave the
Excellent.
village in a hurry.
Char-
You gotta
yeah,
climb
I
a
do a
cliff
char-
now.
I do a charm check. I do a charm check looking at her and just being like, look, if you're seriously worried about all your possessions, I thought you were an adventurer. Adventurers usually go out adventuring, but that's fine. I'll carry your bag for you. And trust me, we'll park the walker, we'll put a tarp over it, and we'll just make sure to travel. We'll make sure to travel during the day. When we leave right now, it's daylight. Nothing's really going to attack us. When we go back to the walker, we'll wait till daylight. Nothing will attack us. So yeah, I do that charm check, and I'm pretty sure my charm is just a green. I don't think it's anything special. But yeah, come on, Bilbo
We've got
Baggins.
a lot of destiny points if you want to flip one and turn one of your greens into a yellow. You can flip a destiny point to do that.
Oh, it's too funny of a Hobbit moment. She's.
And a setback because no, she's got the walker and you're a Jedi and you're gonna help her carry the walker
We'll
down.
carry the shit.
Yeah, you're gonna help
Fine.
her carry the walker down. That's what she's expecting. So it's not gonna be an easy check.
No, no, exactly. Yeah. We'll either crash and drown and die, or we'll plummet to our death and die and kill some villagers.
Or you'll use the Force to help her
It's all about
pilot the
style
walker
points.
down the cliff. Successfully. That's
two threats.
Also. All right. So
What does
you
that
do
mean?
not succeed. You have no success or failure, which means you did not succeed. You have 2 threat, which means Quintero looks at you crossly, and we're going to just take 2 strain with those threats for now, instead of having them have some lingering effect to dwell on. We'll save that kind of stuff for combat, where it'll be dynamic in that way. You see outside that the 2 Sauvax Sherpas have clambered up to the edge of the drop on either side of the walker and appear ready to head down. Quintero frowns at you and says,
No, I brought the walker all the way here, and the plan is to walk it down there so that I can use the sensors and get some scans of the place. You're a Jedi and a witch. Let's make this happen.
Got you there.
It's fine.
she's
okay.
refusing to back down.
So
on her plan.
meta question then.
Sure.
So if I were using alter the gravity of an area.
Okay, I thought you might alter the terrain and make it some steps or whatever, but alter the gravity of the area, that works too. So yes, you can alter the gravity of an area by surrounding it with magic and having it, be lighter, and it can gingerly walk down, if you succeed. Yeah, so you're gonna have to alter the way down, which means you're going to have to be able to reach out to long range while you do it. So if you can alter the gravity in an area that reaches out to long range with your alter ability as it is, then you will succeed at being able to do it. There will be a discipline check involved as well, because you'll be actively keeping this up, while she is walkering down the mountain. So there'll be a skill check and
It's an impressive
force power
maneuver,
check
no matter
involved,
who's doing
but you have to activate
Can alter gravity?
Yeah, I can alter
so
gravity in
alter-
a
This motherfucker
small
wants to float
space
the walker
Alter,
down
as
the
you
cliff.
unlock the different parts of alter, you can alter all kinds of things. At first, you can make difficult terrain and regular terrain into regular and difficult terrain. Then you can do impassable terrain. Then you've got all kinds of other stuff where you can create areas of changed gravity or toxic
Exactly.
atmosphere. You can create areas where everybody in it gets boost dice.
Nice.
You can create areas where everyone in it gets an extra force die if they're force
I'm not seeing the
sensitive.
gravity though. That's where I'm confused.
It's in the
So it's
impassable-
the atmosphere. So I got it. Can I explain it? So
Sure.
for example, when we were in the expat club fighting those battle droids, I can use alter to fuck the gravity up so that the droids automatically fall to the ground because the gravity around them
float up
is
to
so
the
much
ceiling.
heavier.
Or
I
float
can
up
make
to
them
the ceiling.
float to the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just another way to do that. It wouldn't do
The
damage
issue is
necessarily because that's a different
everyone
power, but
around
they
me
would have
within
to
a bowl
deal
is
with that
affected that way.
in their
That's
maneuvers.
the downside.
Gotcha.
Well, some of those powers, you have to read what they say. Some of those say do this within an area around you, and some say create an area that does this within your range. So you can do one or the other. Like those toxic areas, it's more like you can create points of it within whatever your range can reach out to. It's not create a whole area out to that range around you because that would be more detrimental to you. But you can be like, over there, lava! We're on a volcano, right? There's lava.
Or
here.
how alter has corrosive environments, and then I could be like poison spray.
Exactly. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't have the distance. Yeah. So
okay.
what we'll end up doing is exactly what Joe suggested before of just I'm gonna have to make a land shelf, and we're gonna move the walker, and then I'm gonna make another land shelf, move the walker, make another
you're gonna
land shelf.
earthbend your way down.
Because I only have medium range. I don't
All right,
have long
excellent.
range.
Well, you're going to have to do a couple of checks then on the way down, and that'll be cool.
Yeah.
So let's get you into character, and then you're going to... So Kintera goes...
So you're gonna help?
and
Narset looks
thinks
back
about
over
it.
to Kintera. She somewhat nods her head up and down, not realizing that her request was kind of very strongly out there. Just yeah, leave your shit, it's fine. Because realizing she's a Jedi, she's not used to possessions, she's fine with just leaving. So Narset thinks about it, she looks back over to Kintera, and she's like, okay, have you ever seen a loaf cat jump from one ledge to another ledge? I think that's what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna have to try to make some earth shelves, and I need you to walk the walker from each earth shelf to the next earth shelf. You got me?
She goes...
Yeah. I think I can handle the slope as long as I don't have to do the whole thing at once. But how about you make the ledge before I start down?
I don't know what that scruffily sounds were, but yes, okay. Does Narset have to go outside? Well, I went outside.
No, you can do it from
before.
inside.
Yeah. So
If you want
I'll
to,
go
you can,
outside.
but you could do it from in here.
If you want to stand on top of the walker,
All right,
it'll look
you're gonna
cooler,
head
but you can
outside.
do whatever.
I'll put my fluffy jacket on, and Narset, since she knows where the exit hatch is, she opens the hatch herself. She doesn't ask Kintera to open the door for her. She opens it herself, goes outside, assesses the ledge, and reaches her hand, and then Narset reaches her hand out, looking down the lava rock ledge, and says,
A Dathomiri
True.
spell.
yeah, shoot
All
out
right.
rocks.
Let's get an alter check. There isn't a discipline check involved. It's just the force power. 4 lights and a dark. All right, the force is very with you this morning, Narset. As you stand there in the cold, you notice the Sauvax Sherpas are paying rapt attention to you as you reach out. Spirals of green magic swirl around you, and then rush backward from your hand, up your arm, down your body, and through your feet into the ground, and spend them pips to create some ledges. How many, you activate your range upgrades. I don't know if you're
I have one range upgrade, but I do have one
Okay.
duration.
But you can activate it multiple times. So you're turning this impassable terrain to passable terrain, which is 2 points to do down there with control impassable terrain. Because all impassable means is you have to make a check to make it down. So you're making a ledge down there. So that's 2 of your 5 potential pips here, you know, if we're including the dark side one. You can normally only do this at short, but you can bump that out to medium by spending 2 of the other pips. So without having to tap into that dark side pip, you can create a ledge down there at medium range, which means which will affect the difficulty of Kintera's piloting. You know, check to get down. So
make it easier for her
exactly,
because she has
she
more
doesn't
ledges.
have to go as far. You know what I mean? If you'd made one ledge at long, harder for her to, you know, get down to. And if it was at short range, you would have had to make more ledges, and it could have tired you out or whatever. So the green magic rushes down your legs and into the ground, and about halfway down the slope below you, an earthen shelf juts out from the volcanic wall. It is large enough for the walker to make its way down to. As you turn around, you see that Kintera has slipped down from the piloting stand and has her face pressed against the window in front of her, in the front of the walker. Yeah, exactly. When she notices that you're looking, she applauds silently behind the transparency and waits for you to get back in. The Sauvax are both staring at you with rapt attention. The one that is dressed in like the low-tech fashion with a hide cape and spears and a net clacks something unintelligible to you and sort of bows with his claws together and then heads straight down the slope towards the village. The younger Sauvax in the poncho with the utility belt and the blaster rifle. The rifle spear sort of shrugs his claws and then clambers down to the ledge that you've made. Kintera's waiting inside the walker for you.
How far down does the 2 ledges? Like, did we make it all the way to
the
the
ledge
ground?
you made? The ledge you made will get you halfway there. So she's just got to pilot. I'm going to make her rolls, and then, you know, as long as she's successful, you won't have to, you know, deal with anything on her way down.
Hopefully she drives as good as she
Are you guys picking up that
researches.
sound?
With a success and a ton of advantage, Kintera deftly pilots the walker down the slope to the ledge you've
Done Vin
She
Diesel.
barely pauses. Yeah, she barely pauses and goes, I'm going to head all the way down. I think I can take it from here.
The walker jumps.
She's going to give herself a bunch of boosts with all those advantages that she created.
With a heavy thud.
Yeah, right? I mean, there's still the chance that she rolls, you know, despair on it.
The walker sinks.
Lands on the shaman's hut. No. After leveling out on the ledge that Narset handily created, Kintera drives the walker straight back to the vertical volcanic cliffside in a lurching and harrowing few minutes of vertical face first clambering. The walker makes its way down to the brief spit of shore down here at the edge of this inlet. You can see, since you're facing the seaside as you come down, you see to your right that there is the inlet continues, and there's a great cave mouth heading into the volcano side here. Ahead of you is a longhouse, smaller than the one in Fishtown, and with no chimney billowing smoke into the skies. The village itself is about half the size of the Sauvax village there in Fishtown, Crabtown there, where the Sauvax who've left to go and try to make the climb to the stars by, entering the great melting pot of the galaxy, that way, have gone. The tribally dressed Sherpa is already waiting for you at the bottom of the slope here, in the center of the village near the longhouse. The younger Sherpa, the one who's adopted the high-tech wing of the Offworlders, rode down the second half of the slope on the top of the walker after it got steep, and you see that his elder companion is shaking his head disappointedly as he heads into the longhouse. Kintera is giddy at the controls as the walker pulls up to a stop just there at the edge of the tribal village, facing the
Never been here,
longhouse.
huh?
No, she hasn't. Behind you, you can hear the boom of the surf as the waves crash in and out of the great cave mouth. And you notice that, like Crabtown, over on the other side of the island, on the only area on that whole bay, on the leeward side of the island, where the bay isn't frozen over, is where the waste from the gasworks is being dumped into the bay, but also over by Crabtown, where somehow the Sauvax are able, through their aquaculture, to keep the ice from freezing over just where their docks are. You see here that the entire inlet on this, the windward, colder side of the island, this entire inlet is not frozen over with water. And the water is still cold, certainly, and ice-filled, but not frozen. And the tide is coming in and out and booming behind you as the walker stops there at the edge of the village. Kintera begins rushing around, getting her things ready to exit.
Narset looks over to Kintera after somewhat getting a brief layout of the land, and somewhat thinks out loud, like somewhat questioning Kintera because she doesn't think that she's paying attention because she's too busy gathering all her data pads. But she sort of just thinks out loud, I wonder, there has to be volcanic vents that are keeping part of this water unfrozen. But it's very clear that the water is a lot more polluted due to the factory on this side than it is on the other side.
Kintera goes,
Yeah, I've tried to get the Sauvax over in Crabtown to explain what it is that they do to keep the bay from freezing there. I do know that there's a volcanic vent. They haven't allowed me down into their kelp field, though, to examine it up close. Maybe there's a vent over on this side of the island, too. It would have to be huge to keep this whole inlet from freezing over, though.
It would have to be pumping out of that cave mouth. Maybe some underwater lava is still flowing into the ocean. If there's lava that's being pumped into the ocean underneath all the sewage, I can only imagine the effect that that's having.
well, there's no sewage on this side of the island. That's
okay.
only over where the city is. So,
For mysterious reasons,
Yeah.
the bay on this side is not frozen over.
yeah, the inlet over here is also not frozen over. But this smaller crab village is has a much larger volume of water that is, remaining warm compared to Crabtown over where a much larger Sauvax population has a much smaller, area of water that's kept warm where they can, fish,
Gotcha.
basically.
It's much more.
She looks back over to Kintera, stating, "Whenever you're ready with your belongings, just throw me a bag." And because I assume you would like to start speaking to some of the locals and looking into things culturally.
Kintera's looking around through the windows as she's collecting up, and she goes,
I'm going to leave most of my stuff in the walker. Since we didn't leave the walker behind, I'll only need to carry one bag. I'm going to start by humbly requesting permission.
Speak to the chief.
The Sauvax are big. I don't necessarily want to upset them, and from what I've been able to gather, Crab Drogo doesn't necessarily have the best relation with the tribe on this side of the island.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure what the particulars are. He hasn't gone into it. He's temperamental. But I'm going to try to look into that and see what cultural differences there are between this village and the others.
She looks around and says,
I already don't see any evidence of any form of modern technology whatsoever out there.
She finishes packing a small bag and gets on her North Space jacket and gets ready to head out into the cold, dropping a satchel over her shoulder as she does. She locks up and tidies up the interior of the walker before heading up onto the top hall to survey the village. You can see that there's a single long dock here, and there are Sauvax down by the shore, heading in and out of the frigid waters with nets. There are a few Sauvax moving about the village. They've all stopped, generally. Those who aren't hard at work in the sea have all stopped at what they're doing to observe your descent. There's only maybe a dozen of the crustaceans in the open center of the village there. There are a few standing outside the longhouse with spears in what's usually a ceremonial position, to be sure. And they look absolutely rigid. One thing you have noticed is that none of the Sauvax in this village have the deeper red coloration that you saw the Sauvax in Crab Drogo's village taking on by bathing in the warmth in their longhouse. Kintera has her face buried in a scanner pad and is taking a panoramic scan of the village from the top of the walker before she descends. She says,
You can accompany me if you want, but we can also split up. I haven't been here before, but there have been people on this planet for centuries, so I'm not worried about cultural contamination or anything like that.
No, but we should stick together and say hello to the village hierarchy. Respectfully, though, it would look bad for one of us to just be gallivanting along a village without saying hello or announcing ourselves. Who knows the last time that this village has seen humanoids?
Kintera nods and purses her lips at you. She goes,
Very wise, Master Jedi.
and then leaps down the side of the walker into the snow there at the edge of the village. The younger Sauvax Sherpa has been waiting nervously for the two of you to descend, and he's clacking anxiously to Kintera as she stands there in the snow. She turns to you and frowns. She goes,
First roadblock. He says we shouldn't be here at all. He thought we were only going to the top of the mountain, never thought we were coming here.
and says,
Crab Drogo has forbidden anyone from returning back to the Ancient Ones because their teachings are old and they refuse to collapse.
Well, he's not receiving or taking in any teachings. He's only here because we are here. So thankfully, he doesn't have to worry about Crab Drogo's rules at the particular moments.
She frowns at that and says,
I'm not even going to try to make that argument with him. They're very big on
They're people.
tribal hierarchy. Crab Drogo's rules are Crab Drogo's rules, no matter where he is, and he says we've already contaminated him. In his defense, I didn't tell him we were coming here, so that's on me.
she winces.
If only you spoke Crab.
True, I do not speak crab. Or prawn.
Yeah, they kind of got that look too. More legs though. She says,
I'll try to tell him to wait here, I guess. I'm afraid he'll try to go back on his own.
That would not be very safe or wise for him to do on his own. That'd have to be a negotiation check. Be like, hey, you can wait in the walker. You can wait by the car if you want.
yeah, basically. You got to social check this crab. I know you don't have your talker with you. Narset's like, this is why I bring Sauvax along. He would know
He doesn't
crab.
speak crab.
Oh, you bet Sauvax Silverstar speaks
It's
crab.
crab.
I'm sure if whatever the roll that you would have to make to see if you spoke crab, David, I'm sure you would pass it.
I'd probably be speaking crab at the end of the night.
Exactly.
Oh, cool.
I've learned
okay, well,
not to say throw another prawn on the Barbie. At least that.
Cause an intergalactic incident.
Well,
That's the
okay.
story
Well, I
of
guess
why
we'll
we
have
never
to make
went to
this.
Larator again.
We'll have to make this social check for the other Salvac to stay at the Walker, and then talk to the Well, I mean, Kantara's here because she has her own agendas and her own investigations and things. So
Yeah, she's being nosy and snooping around where Crab Drogo has told her not to go. And she bamboozled this guy into coming along with her. The other guy seemed to be fine with it, or has already gone to rat you guys out. You know? She is trying to get you to convince this crab to, not lose his shell over this, basically. You know what I mean? Like, if it goes poorly, he could decide, no, you're infidels, and then turn violent against you for, impurifying him or whatever. You know what I mean? There aren't a lot of dark side points, so it's probably not going to go too poorly. You know what I mean? But you're going to have to roll to try to soothe the crab. The difficulty is going to be a red and a purple. No setback because your big poofy jacket keeps you from being cold. It's upgraded because you've sullied him in the eyes of his king, the Sauvax of their tribe. Right? So Narset comes over and attempts to soothe the Sauvax, but is stymied by the fact that she does not speak Sauvax.
don't speak the native language.
No. At this point, the Sherpa from before, the older fellow, returns with the two guards from outside the long. He begins clacking animatedly at the young Sherpa and finally appears to soothe him. He comes over and clacks to Kintera. She responds in her half-hearted attempt at Sauvax in return. They have a brief conversation. She says,
I think it's going to be all right. We're not supposed to be here, but, well...
We're here.
Exactly.
So,
Colonials.
right. She makes I suppose we should go along with these armed natives. It's a practiced move that she's done many a time. Well, I guess we're going along with the armed natives then, Livingston, and follows the guards through the village towards the longhouse. Right. When you enter the longhouse, you are not greeted with the oppressive wave of heat that you found in the Crab Town tribal center. There is still a central bed with dimly glowing coals, but all of the pits around that were filled with almost molten fire in Crab Town instead sit cold. You notice that the crabs moving around in the longhouse appear lethargic. Only a very few of them have taken on the deep red hue that at least half of the Sauvax population over in Crab Town sported very robustly, and heartily. Kintera is looking around, taking everything in. As you head to the back of the longhouse, you see that the place of prominence there at the back of the longhouse where Crab Drogo was is empty. But as you head to the back, a lean, tall, and almost gray in color Sauvax moves to intercept you. He looks the two of you back and forth, and then begins to have a conversation with the guards. Kintera follows it as best she can. When she gets a moment, she whispers to you and says,
It's not going nearly as poorly as I thought it would, actually.
That's true. They're not killing us, but they're also not welcoming us.
Narset, go ahead and give me a sense power check.
That basic sense.
Okay. Well, let's see what kind of force is with you.
3 light sides. I mean, you said that they were lethargic. What would happen if Narset just sort of turned around and made the fire pit more flamey? Warmer.
You want to alter?
I want to
Okay,
alter the fire to get warmer.
You just made a force power check. We can use those pips instead for that. That is fine.
Asked me to do the sense. What do you want me to do the sense for? Just to read the room?
Well, you've got a spare pip anyway. If you use 2 to impassable this fire pit, you'll still have 1 left over to pop sense at short range. So you're good, actually, Narset. The Force is with you in sufficient quantities to be able to do it all.
So I'm not like making anything impassable. Narset just like sort of turns around and like flicks her finger at the place that seems to be like really dwindling down and dying, and she like kindles it, and it's sort of like with a flame, and then like back in and like sort of just simmers and sits.
That I couldn't have asked for more from you, Bendu. At this demonstration of magic, the discussion from the Elder Sauvax and the guard cuts off, and there is a murmuring of clacking from all of the other Sauvax in the longhouse. As they
She made it warm.
You made a big splash.
comment. The Elder Sauvax turns and bends down from his 8 feet of height to peer into Narset's face. His milky glazed eyes peer at you from a hand's breadth away, and then he croaks in a very vague approximation of ancient galactic.
I try not to nervously smile with anticipation as this crab person. The only word they know in basic is Jedi. Narset not closes her eyes necessarily, but she like and lowers her head in a manner of respect. Not like a full-on head bow, because he's like right there and doesn't want to like chin.
She respectfully headbutts the Sauvax in the face.
You don't
at least skull bash.
Jedi. Boom!
Yeah, what's the reaction we get? You just
I don't know.
a
Narset
nod?
just odd, yeah. A very like nervous but like no emotion. Just like either gonna hate you because you're a Jedi, or you just got brownie points.
Well, I think that's the perfect place to cut to commercial then. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get
Cool.
right back.